The black wife effect is real. Okay, this is something that needs to be studied in universities. I don't believe in much, but I believe in the black wife effect, and soon you will too. Enter the black wife, which I do every chance I get. You can't tell me that's not a miracle. You can't tell me that's not an improvement. What? Dude, night and day. And I'm not just talking about our skin colors. The black wife effect, give it the Pulitzer. Give it the Nobel Prize. Give it an Oscar. Give it a Tony. Make it an EGOT. Black wife effect, man.
So in 2024, we have the internet going wild, yet and still, over black women and white men marrying. So much so that this was a trend that took TikTok by storm. I mean, I saw video after video after video of white men in particular and non-black men post their experience before a black woman and their experience after black woman. And what you generally saw was, the same trend. These white men who kind of looked disheveled, looked like they didn't know how to put themselves together, looked like they didn't really shower all the time. And then after the black wife, they took a shower. They put on something else other than a t-shirt. Right? It's like they are more put together. So there's this consistent theme that you see throughout all these videos. Now, the only thing about these trends that can be a little bit concerning is that they have the propensity of making things appear more common or more likely than they actually are, right? I mean, if you go onto TikTok, you may assume that, man, almost 50% or more and more people are dating and swirling, and you might actually think that this is quite common. But yet and still in the United States of America, a generous estimate is that about 3% of white men currently have a black wife. That's being generous, right? Some numbers say that it is low as 1%, but anywhere between 1 to 3% of white men in America having a black wife, that is a incredibly small minority. Now, why is that important? I think it's important to understand why decades upon decades upon decades after Loving versus Virginia, and there being an aggressive push in media and different outlets to promote interracial relationships, to promote, more of a multicultural point of view, why decades later, it's still a very small percentage of interracial couples, specifically white men and black women, who actually exist. It's important to understand why. And I think there's a couple of factors to this, right? Some of it is just proximity. There are still towns that are incredibly segregated. All black towns, all white towns, and people just don't really mix on that level. So there is sometimes, a proximity issue. There's also the class distinction. But another elephant in the room that still goes on is just preference, or in some cases, downright racism. And the thing about these TikTok relationships and these really cute viral couples and these social media love stories, the danger to me is that they really do a poor job at looking at the complexities of an interracial relationship in 2024. And here is why. At a time where you have a pretty large fraction of white Americans who are feeling more displaced, who are in fear that their birth rate is dropping and that they are slowly becoming less and less of the majority population, and that they essentially feel like they are losing their rights, the rights that they were, entitled to through different things, through multiculturalism, through immigration, through a declining economy, through a government essentially that they don't think works for them. This is the cultural backdrop of 2024. Not all white men out there are looking to have a black wife. Not all white men out there are even really excited or happy about the idea of there being any kind of multicultural setting in America. Some actually want to go back to a pre-multicultural America and much prefer to push for a white ethno state, much prefer to push for essentially a white America. This is happening right now. And so the problem is, you have these little cute Instagram stories, TikTok stories going on where young, impressionable black women see it, and they are fully, completely disconnected from the reality that there are also white people out there who want nothing to do with them. And some of these white people can be very, open and quite obvious about their point of view, but some of them are a lot more quiet wide and insidious. And some of them actually target Black women and do really dangerous things to them. This is why I think we continue to see Black women come up missing, unfortunately. They go on dates. They may have a date with, meet somebody online or, link up, whatever, online dating, and they end up missing or they end up dead on the first date or on the second date early on. We're seeing this over and over again. It's like some of these ladies are completely and totally unaware that not all white guys out there are proud or excited at the idea of having a Black wife.
What's wrong with race mixing? I just don't like it. I'm just against it. Honestly, I think people should stick with their own. I think you should stick with your own kind. Not because I hate other races, but just because I want to be me. I want to be my race, and I want my wife to be my race, and I want my kids to be my race. And I think people generally should do that. It's in my opinion, a huge repudiation of who you are to marry outside your race. I mean, like it or not, your race is part of your identity. It's who you are. I want white kids. I want my kids to look like me. I want my kids to have my features. I want them to have my thick brown head of hair. I want them to have my piercing green eyes. I want them to have my thick eyebrows. I want my sons to have a mustache when they're 5, like I did. I want them to have fair skin. I want them to be me. I want them to be like me.
And even those who don't necessarily align are very open-minded. They likely have somebody in their family or somebody they know that is not open-minded, that is extremist. I have white friends that I know personally who have told me, oh yeah, my grandfather, oh yeah, my grandmother, oh yeah, my parent, oh yeah, this. Like they, even if they themselves do not align with racist or, hateful rhetoric, they fully know somebody in their immediate circle who does. So it's like there's really no escaping this. And I think because people can go online and see this stuff and think it's hecka cute and then not hear the other side, that like, hey, there is this other really uncomfortable side going on that you just need to be aware about. I think it creates an environment for Black women to, they not only do they kind of fantasize about these different relationships, but it's almost like they take all their guards down. It's like some of the different boundaries they may have if they're dating a Black man. It's almost like they can go out the door if it's a white man because it just seems so cute. It just seems so exciting. It seems like it's a novelty. And unfortunately, this can make women of color, Black women in particular, an easy target in this particular climate when you literally have people who are pushing and hoping to galvanize and hoping to really play off of the discontent that more people are feeling in this economy and using race as the defining factor. So again, my issue is not the interracial dating or marriage. If two people fall in love of a different ethnicity or race, like I said, I have no issue with that. But it's important to be realistic about what that means. And it's not necessarily always a better or a safer option, especially if you are a Black woman or a woman of color in the USA in 2024, when white nationalism and neo-Nazism is certainly on the rise, not only in the USA, but just in the West in general, right? And so I think it's just important to be honest about that. And those are the kinds of things that don't really make TikTok. Those are the kinds of conversations that I don't really see going viral and becoming a trend, but it's important to consider and it's important to know. And it's also important to know that just because somebody will have sexual interest in you as a woman, or just because somebody may actually show that they're attracted to you, doesn't mean that they're not racist. There are a ton of racist people out there who hate Black people, who will then go and on their free time and watch Ebony Corn, right? Or go on their free time and just watch all kind of insidious things. Like, it gets weird. So I think sometimes women think, oh, just because a guy's attracted to you or shows sexual interest, that he may not have racist ideologies and he may not hate you. And that's not true. In fact, there are actually some people who like, they really hate Black women and they kind of get off on sexualizing Black women and then doing all kind of mean, insidious things to them. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, or I don't want to like be a fearmongerer, because I'm not saying that's every person, but it's just important to be aware that does exist. Like, just don't get so caught up in the fairy tale. To have good boundaries regardless of the person's race, whether they are in your race or outside your race or whatever. You have to have good boundaries. And it's also good to just be aware that not everything that glitters is gold, okay? And not everybody out there is happy or proud about the Black wife effect. And please do not go out here and pedestalize a relationship, especially in a interracial relationship, when there are also dangers associated with that. Anyways, y'all, that's what I got. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later.